Okay, so today we are going to be doing a twofer, two topics coming up in one video. We are going to be talking buddy reads and how I rate the books that I read. But first, I want to give a very quick shout out to my supporters because you guys have just been really amazing. Thank you so much to those of you who have subscribed, to those of you who left comments. You guys have just been incredible, especially this past week. You've been amazing. So thank you, thank you, thank you to each and every one of you. Let's go through this list really quickly. Troy Reads, thank you very much. And if you have not subscribed to Troy's channel, I definitely recommend you do so. He's always brightening up my day. So thank you, Troy. Amy McLean, Lost in a Bookcase. Sam Dawson, my famous five buddy, hi. He's a really cool Australian booktuber. Reading and Retail, thank you for subscribing. And with an E, thank you for subscribing. Megan's Reading Revelations. Dashi Zana or Zana, I hope I'm saying that right. Suzanne Freyer, I hope I'm saying that right too. Satina Loves to Read, thank you for the subscription. And Spinelli Speaks, and thank you also for the subscription. You guys have just been so amazing, and you've brought this really beautiful warmth to my heart. So thank you, thank you, thank you so much for your support. Let's get into today's video. Okay, so the first thing I want to talk to you guys about is buddy reading, because this is something that I've been wanting to do for a very, very, very long time. So if you've been following my videos for a while now, you may be aware of the fact that I am part of an amazing Facebook group called Passion for Books. These guys are wonderful. I think I have the link to them below. If I don't, let me know in the comment section and I will make sure to include it in the description or to put it in the comment section. You know what I'm trying to say. These guys are really awesome. Anything to do with books we can talk about, and every day there's always something new that's going on, and it's just a whole lot of fun. So recently, one of the biggest topics that has come up on this group is people discussing whether or not there is interest to run a book club or to buddy read or something of that nature, and there seems to be a ton of interest out there. So, and I'm definitely one of them. I already read on average about 12 books a month, but I definitely would love to buddy read with people. So I ended up creating this Facebook group for everyone to join so we could all buddy read together, but that didn't seem to go over so well, which kind of surprised me a little bit. And I'm not here complaining about that situation. It is what it is, but there just seemed to be a ton of interest to join a book club, and then when someone creates it, no one seems to be interested anymore. But I'm still very much interested, so I'm going to be reaching out to you guys, my loyal subscribers and viewers. You guys are amazing. So if you guys would like to buddy read with me, I would love to buddy read with you guys. So I'm going to leave the link to my Facebook group in the description below. Now, I know that a lot of booktubers are on Instagram and Twitter. I am on those social media platforms, but I very seldom use them. Facebook has always been my preferred social media platform of choice. So for me, my book club / buddy reads is going to take place over there in that Facebook group. Now, the next thing I want to discuss with you guys about buddy reading is that I have found a lot of different buddy reading groups on different social media sites. But the problem seems to be, and this is just me personally, maybe you guys don't have a problem with this, but for me it becomes a real struggle, is that those groups that I really want to be a part of and that I really want to buddy read with them, they decide to make their announcement of the book they're going to buddy read a couple of days into the month or on the first date of that month. And this kind of causes a little bit of an issue with me and my scheduling. Now, some of you who watch my videos are very loyal viewers. Others of you are very loyal viewers, but you also have your own booktube channels. And because of this, those of you who have your own booktube channel would know this. Anyone who's on booktube who does TBR videos, we need to get these things organized before the first date of the month. So, and the reason for this is because we want to show the books to you guys that we are going to read, whether we're purchasing them, getting them from a library, or both. We need to kind of have these books on us before the previous month ends so that we have enough time to film that TBR and get it up for you guys at least by the first of the month. What this also means is that prior to the end of the previous month, all of the books that I'm going to read, and I'm sure you guys who have your own channel are going to read, they're already locked in before the month begins. So then to have book clubs that I'm a part of, after I've already locked in 12 books for the month, which is quite a lot of books, understandably, but also there's really no room to add any more. I've already organized this, and then people are saying, now let's buddy read this, and it's like, well, I've already organized my TBR. So one thing I can promise with my own book club and with my buddy reads is that we will determine the book or books, depending on if we're going to read 1 or 2 a month. We'll take it as it comes. I promise that we are going to determine them with enough time in advance so that we can get these books. And then if we want to discuss them in our TBRs, we can. And that's certainly something that I will do. You know, if I'm able to organize something for September or even for October or whenever we organize a buddy reads situation, I want to have those books on me, and then when I next do my TBR, I can say, and by the way, this book that I'm now holding up, we're actually reading as part of my buddy reads, and you can join us over here and da-da-da-da-da. I want to talk about this in the TBR, and so the only way to do that is to have those books already predetermined quite in advance, so I can certainly promise that. While it will take place on Facebook, I do also have my email in the description below, so if you don't have Facebook and you want to join me through email, you certainly can do that. Now, I have had a Patreon in the past, but I don't have a Patreon for my booktube, and I don't plan on having one just yet. That may change at some point, but I don't plan on having one just yet, and certainly not for my Buddy Reads book club. I don't want you guys to have to pay anything for it. So if you don't have Facebook, you can email me to get on that list, and we can do an emailing thing. It's up to you guys how you would like to do it, but if you would like to buddy read with me, then please by all means do let me know, and I will leave that group link in the description. See, I don't edit. In the description below so that you guys can join along with us and we can all read together. Also, while I normally read fantasy, contemporary, or dystopian books as a majority of the majority of the books that I read, I am open to reading other genres as well, and this could be a great way to be introduced to other things. So just because I may not feature a genre that you like in my videos, if you have a book that you think I would really enjoy, I would definitely love to hear the recommendation. The final point that I want to make is with this book club, everyone will have the opportunity to make suggestions of the books that we read. I don't want to be the sole determining factor. I don't want to have a book club where I say, guys, you can pick out of these 3 books which one we're going to do and that's it. I want you guys to have a vote. So there'll be a bit of a process, and the first thing that we're going to do over in this book club is that everyone can suggest as many books as they want, and then we'll whittle it down to a top 5 or something, and then everyone can vote. So yeah, I just wanted you to know that you absolutely can nominate any book that you want to nominate that we all read, and provided we organize all of this with enough time and with enough notice for everyone, we can all order these books with enough time, put them on our TBRs if we just so happen to have a booktube channel, and then we can start reading them throughout the month. I do have ways in which we are going to keep up discussions with that, with the books that we do read as well, and I do realize that some people read a lot faster than others, and I have also come up with a way to accommodate for those who read a lot faster and those who take a little more time to read through their books so that no one gets spoiled. So if any of this interests you, comment below and let me know, or click on the link and join the book club group that I have on Facebook. But if you don't have Facebook, comment below and let me know, and send me an email. My email's in the description, and we will go from there. Alright, moving on now to my second topic that I want to talk about today, how I go about rating these books. Okay, so before I get started on this topic, I want to give a big shout out to Daniel from the booktuber channel Daniel Green, who did a video like this very recently, and he is the inspiration for me to do this video. So thank you, Daniel, and a big shout out to you. I will try and leave his link to his channel in the description below. He is an awesome booktuber. He is definitely what I would call an unconventional booktuber, in that he doesn't do TBRs or monthly wraps or reading vlogs, but he does do a lot of really interesting topics that he discusses. So yeah, definitely check out Daniel if you haven't before now. Okay, on to how I rate my books. So, this has been a really interesting journey for me. I started BookTube in late January of this year with the goal to get back into reading after in 2018 and 2019 picking up a total of 3 books and DNFing every single one of them before I even knew what DNF meant, oddly enough. For those of you who don't know, DNF stands for did not finish. I started them, I put them down, and did not pick them back up again. The reason that this is so interesting as far as my reading life and how that has played out for me since, the moment I started reading, is that I've always been someone who loves reading, and unfortunately in 2018 that kind of came to a bit of a standstill, and it continued in 2019. So in 2020 I wanted to start reading again, and my New Year's resolution was to read as many books as I could this year. I'm already in the high 60s or early 70s, which I'm really happy about, and some of them you can see here. It's been really good, and this channel has definitely motivated me to keep going, as well as you guys, my very loyal subscribers and commenters. Thank you very, very much. But how do I go about rating the books that I read? Well, alongside creating this BookTube channel, I also joined this website called Goodreads. I will leave I actually already do. I have the link to my Goodreads account in the description of every video that I do, so you can definitely check out my Goodreads if you wish. And I update my Goodreads with what I'm currently reading every single day, so you can check that out whenever you want and be completely up to date with what I'm reading and where I'm at, and most importantly, how I'm feeling about that book. Am I loving it? Am I really not loving it? You can certainly check that out. Because I am associated, quote unquote, with Goodreads, I certainly don't have any deal with them, but because I've signed up with them, I tend to lean towards their rating system, because it is the easiest way for me to keep a log of all the books that I've read, and the easiest way to just review them. So for me, and this is just me specifically, I am limited to the bounds of the rating options that Goodreads gives its subscribers. Is that the word? So one big issue that a lot of Goodreads people have, a lot of people that are on Goodreads have, I should say, is that Goodreads does not offer a half star or a 0.5 star rating, which is really annoying. So if you find a book that you think is just slightly above average and you want to give it a 3.5 stars, while you can state that in your review, your typed review of the book, when it comes to actually clicking on the stars themselves to make your star rating, they only allow you to round up to the nearest star. So they only, the nearest whole star. So they only allow you to rate a book 1 star, 2 stars, 3 stars, 4 stars, or 5 stars. So in the beginning, when I first started rating books, I would literally write it in the description saying, I know this says 3 stars, but I'm actually officially giving it 3.5, but I'm limited with Goodreads. And I would do that for quite a few books. But then in the end, I just sort of thought, what's the point? There were also moments in my reviews where I would say, come on, Goodreads. You know, literally I would type there, come on, Goodreads, we need a 0.5, come on. Sometimes a guy needs a half, you know what I mean? But they don't seem to be changing anytime soon. So as I was saying earlier, I was watching Daniel's video when he was discussing the way that he rates his books, and he does it differently to Goodreads, and I really do appreciate that. First of all, Daniel has a 20-star spread, which I think is a much more accurate way to rate books than how they have it on Goodreads. So Daniel will use the minimum rating as, I think, 0, and his maximum rating is 10, but he also includes 0.5. So he'll have a 0, a 0.5, a 1, a 1.5, and so on and so forth, all the way up to 10. But because Goodreads doesn't allow this, I have 1, 2, 3, 4, or 5 stars, and that's all. So, sticking with that limitation, how do I go about using my stars? Now, there are booktubers out there who probably, I'm just going to say probably because I don't know this for sure, but probably have the idea that they can't rate a book any lower than 3 stars because it's just not the right thing to do. Not me. If I don't like a book, I'm going to tell you guys about it for sure, and I'm going to rate it the lowest possible star that I can. Another thing I need to make a point of in the lower spectrum of star ratings is you cannot give a book on Goodreads 0 stars. I've tried to do this because I've read 0-star books, trust me on that one, but they don't allow the review to go through. You must click a minimum of 1 star for the review to go through. So here's how things were for me. When I first started, I was literally basing my star ratings, on enjoyment level. So, if I don't like using this H word, but I'll use it for the sake of trying to specifically define what each star is to me. If I hate, using that H word, if I hate a book, it's going to get a 1 star. If it was not entertaining to me at all, I found it completely boring, I don't know how I got through this book at all, but somehow I did and it was a waste of my time, 1 star. If I thought that the book was not the book for me, it wasn't entertaining, however, there were 1 or 2 little gems in there that I really found to be delightful. Wasn't amazing, but those 2 gems, they were pretty cool. Then I will give it 2 stars because those gems make up for it not being a 1 star, and me wanting to give it more than 1 star. If I felt that the book was average, and that the pros and the cons of the book were kind of either equal or incredibly close to being equal, then it will receive 3 stars. This is an average book. It's a book where I thought there were things that were done really well that I really enjoyed, and that there were things that I just didn't enjoy, and so average rating is 3 stars. 4 stars is the opposite to 2 stars. So with 4 stars, a 4-star book for me is a book that I thought was really good, but there were 1 or 2 things that I really didn't like about the book, or maybe more than 1 or 2 things that really don't allow me to rate it 5 stars. So I therefore give it 4 stars. And then with 5 stars, this book is absolutely amazing. I love it. You had to pry it out of my hands for me to put it down. Even after I put it down and went off to do other things, I was obsessed with this book and I couldn't stop thinking about it. Let's say hello to Mistborn. That's a great example of a 5-star book for me. So that's how I started. Then as I got a little further into my booktube career, I guess you could call it, things started changing for me, and I started adding another factor into my ratings. Aside from level of enjoyment, I also started to add in how I felt the book, how well I think the book suited the brief of the book. Now, to explain the brief to you guys, let me be very clear and very succinct with what I mean. Every single book that has been written has an age rating, and every single book that has been written has at least 1 main genre attached to it. Now, a lot of books out there will have several subgenres attached to them as well, but I'm not referring to that at the moment. I'm referring to the main genre. So if we look here at Last Sacrifice. So this is the book right behind me, so I'm just going to use it as an example. It's the 6th book in the Vampire Academy series. It is a YA, so YA is a young adult, and it's a fantasy. It's an urban fantasy. So it's a YA urban fantasy. Let's quickly, for those of you who don't know, go through age ratings. So age ratings are suggestions for the type of, for the target age bracketed audience that the book is being marketed towards. And I have to say it specifically that way because I've come across books that say they're targeted to a certain age rating that really it felt like it was an older book than that. And then I've read other books that are saying they're an older age rating that seem like they're a younger one. So this is a marketing ploy, and this is something I did not know, but it's a marketing ploy to advertise a book under a certain age rating rather than it being a, some board of children and teenagers protective services have read these books and said, children cannot read this, they will have nightmares. So no, it's a marketing ploy. So there are 3 age ratings. There are a couple of sub-age ratings, but I'm going to let that go for the moment. The 3 main age ratings are 1, middle grade. Middle grade, generally speaking, is from, let's say, 0 to about 12, I would say. Then, secondly, we have YA. YA stands for young adult, and the age rating for young adult is aged 13 to 17 or 18. It really depends, but let's say 17. So 13 to 17 is YA, and then 18 plus is considered adult. Okay, so with Last Sacrifice, it is a YA book, so the recommended age rating is 13 to 17. So the second way that I decided to rate books was to look at the age rating and see if the book fits the age rating. And Last Sacrifice, to use that example, definitely does. I feel like it's a book that any 13 to 17-year-old can read without any issues, and it also reads like a YA book, so the more you get into reading, the more you'll realise that middle grade has its own sort of writing style, not just the themes that they use because it's appropriate to the targeted age range, but also a specific writing style. So middle grade has a very overly simplistic writing style, and that's literally because the targeted audience is 0 to 12. So the readers, the intended target audience of readers, they're just starting out with their reading, so they just want to make something simplistic enough for someone who's just starting out with reading being able to understand. Then with YA, your 13 to 17 age range, it's more complex, the writing style, compared to middle grade, but it's still easy enough for a teenager to be able to understand. And then with adult writing, sometimes it can be extremely complicated to read. I mean, let's just cut to me holding up any J.R.R. Tolkien book. Like this book, The Fellowship of the Ring by J.R.R. Tolkien. And that's all the viewing time that book's going to get. So, that is an adult classic, and the writing style is extremely complex and very heavily descriptive as well. Okay, so with those things in mind, does the book hold up to its age rating or not? Most of the time it does, although I have a couple of very quick examples of books that I don't think they do. This book is The Ocean at the End of the Lane, and it's by Neil Gaiman. This is marketed as an adult fantasy, but to me, it does not read as an adult book. It reads as a young adult book. I can't say middle grade because there are mature themes in there, but it reads as a young adult book, so I'm a bit confused as to why this is an adult book. On the other spectrum, we have Nevernight. One of my books just fell over. We have Nevernight by J. Kristoff. This book is marketed as a young adult book, and yet it opens up with a ton of swearing and an extremely graphic sexual assault scene. How is this a YA book? So sometimes I feel like publishers, because authors don't do this, it's the publishers who do it. Sometimes I feel like publishers get it wrong and they are marketing to the wrong audience, in my opinion. I love this book, The Ocean at the End of the Lane. I just think it should be marketed to YA rather than to adults. And as for Nevernight, if I had known what the first 3 chapters were going to look like, I would not have picked up this book. I ended up DNFing it. I really don't think this is a book that's appropriate for a young adult. That's just my opinion. Then, of course, we have the genres such as, and this is just a couple of quick genres, sci-fi, fantasy, dystopian, contemporaries, biographies, so on and so forth, mysteries, thrillers, horrors, the list goes on and on. So, with the second way that I was rating my books, it came down to how well does well done. How well does this book fit the brief? So, if it is an adult horror book, does this book fit the brief? Is it grossing me out? Is it scaring me? Is it making me want to leave the light on when I go to bed at night? And I have an example of a horror book that I don't have here that did not fit the brief. And an example of a horror book, again, I don't have it here, that is an adult horror, is Pet Sematary. I read Pet Sematary. It did not scare me at all. It is not really a horror book. It more deals with grief and loss, and I could very easily sleep with the light off. It did not disgust me. It did not freak me out. It did not fit the brief, and therefore it received a lower rating. Did I enjoy the book? I thought it was okay, but it did not fit the brief. Now, let's point to Mistborn, shall we? Because, my favourite book of this year is it depends on which publishing house you're talking to, but I'm going to go with the publishing house that calls this an adult book. So I'm going to call this an adult, epic, high fantasy with hard magic systems. Very quick explanation. High fantasy takes place in a world that's not our own. Low fantasy takes place in our own world. An example of low fantasy being Harry Potter series, because it takes place in the UK. A soft magic system is a magic system without limitations. A hard magic system is a magic system with limitations. So, does Mistborn fit the brief? Is it an adult book? Yes, it is. Is it an adult book that has fantasy elements? Yes, it does. Is it a high fantasy in that it takes place in a world that's not our own? Yes. Does it have a hard magic system which includes limitations on the magic system that are very clearly defined? Yes, it does. It fits the brief. It was also a very entertaining book that I'm still obsessed with to this day, and so deserves all the 5 stars that it did receive. Do you see what I mean here? So I started off in phase 1, literally just rating the book for enjoyment level, but then for phase 2, I started combining enjoyment level with does it fit the brief and using both of them. Then I went into a moment where I was literally just doing the does it fit the brief rating. That lasted probably a month, and these days I've more gone back to enjoyment level. However, I will state, especially in a review or a monthly wrap-up, if I have based this rating on if it fits the brief. So, for example, with my review of The Ocean at the End of the Lane, which I have not done an official review on, but I've discussed it in my daily vlog for my weekly vlog video. But anyway, check those out if you haven't. They're a lot of fun to film. So in that one, I end up giving this book 4 stars. I'll talk about it in my August monthly wrap. The reason why I gave it 4 stars is 2 reasons. One, I found the book to be incredibly entertaining. Neil Gaiman is an amazing writer, and I definitely can't wait to read more of his works. But one of the reasons why I took off a star is because I don't feel it fit the brief. This book is marketed as an adult fantasy, but it reads as a YA. Now, that doesn't disappoint me. In fact, I prefer YA over adult fantasy. I will honestly say the majority of the books that I've DNF'd this year have been adult books because I prefer YA. But if you're going to market a book as adult, then the readers are going to go into that book with certain expectations. This book is marketed as an adult book, but it does not come across as one. Not at all. So I took off a star for that. I don't blame Neil Gaiman, but I certainly was keeping in mind the doesn't fit the brief because it so obviously did not fit the brief for me. So in those situations, I will certainly let you know what I've taken into account. If it's just level of enjoyment, I won't say anything, but if I have taken doesn't fit the brief into account, I will definitely let you guys know. That's where we're going to wrap it up there. So we have the 5-star rating system. 1 star, hate this book. Just, it wasn't entertaining. It was terrible. If I'm going to include does it fit the brief, definitely not. It is marketed as a fantasy book, but it's not a fantasy. It's a contemporary. 2-star book. I didn't like this book, but it had a couple of good gems in there. So, okay, I'll give it 2 stars. 3 stars. It's an average book. The pros and the cons basically even out, or they're just 1 or 2 different. 4 stars, the opposite to 2 stars. I loved this book, but there were 1 or 2 things that I didn't enjoy about the book, so I'm giving it 4 stars. And 5 stars, hello, Miss Bourne. I'm obsessed with this book. You have to pry it out of my hands. I have become very antisocial because anytime I have this book on me, I just don't want to talk to anyone. I just want to read. Yeah, so that's my 5-star rating guide. So how do you guys rate your books? Comment below and let me know. But I am going to leave that there and let you guys go. Peace, blessings, and so much love. A very big thank you to my very loyal subscribers and commenters, especially for the past week. You guys have been amazing and you've definitely been making my day. So thank you so much love to you guys. Thank you so much. I'll see you again very, very soon. I post videos every Tuesday, Thursday, Saturday, and Sunday. And thank you for watching. And happy reading. Bye, guys. Bye.